Over the last few days, a few of us have been using our ferrocerium rods to different degrees of success, but it just emphasises the importance of char cloth. I've got here another fire starting method, which is a homemade fire piston. And I'm going to use a bit of char cloth in it, because with primitive methods of fire starting you very rarely get a flame. You just get a spark or an ember, and you can then use your char cloth to coax that spark or that ember into something more substantial. So I'm just putting a bit of char cloth at the end of the piston. Hopefully that'll stay there. A bit of green grass in it isn't going to help. Right, so that's me fire piston charged. Now I'll just put a bit more char cloth in my tinder bundle. Now, the trick with the fire piston is you go like you mean it. So you need a solid surface to bang it down on, or you do with mine anyway. Mine's a piece of standard 1/2 inch 15mm copper tubing, and I've just made a rod to fit, and I've put a gasket on that rod. So effectively that's your piston with a ring on the end there to make it airtight, and that's your cylinder with just a standard piece of copper pipe with a blanking end on it, and it fits in there like that. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to bang it down hard, compress the air will heat. Hopefully the heat will ignite the char cloth. What you can do is grease it a little bit with a bit of Vaseline. A wooden piston is not the best because it's porous, so you'll never get the best seal with a wooden piston unless you varnish it or treat it in some way. There we go. We transfer that into the tinder bundle, bird's nest. There goes my tea. Right, so I'll just put a few sticks on there. Right, I need to get a can on the air intake underneath to stop the ashes from coming through, burning the garden. Right, so what we're doing is, first of all, we're making more char cloth, but secondly we want to experiment at making charcoal. We need to make charcoal for a future project because charcoal burns cleaner, but more importantly it burns hotter. So we just want to see whether we can make char cloth, and it's exactly the same principle, charcoal, which is exactly the same principle as the char cloth. So we get a container with a char cloth. We get some 100% cotton or punk wood would do. This isn't punk wood, but I've got some somewhere. So anyway, we'll get some char cloth on the go. There's nothing like having a fire on a red hot day. Right, lid on. It needs a hole in the lid to let the gases escape, and there is a hole in this lid. And then we can just put it in there. Then I've sawed some oak. It's only thin oak, there's tar in the tin, but that doesn't matter. I could do with a bit more actually. I'll saw a bit more and then I'll put this on just in the same way as we've put the char cloth on, or the cot to turn into char cloth. You can see that gassing out the top now. We've done this before, char cloth. What we haven't done before is charcoal. So I'll cut a few more bits and put that on. That should take a long time, but we can just leave it on there for as long as the fire goes. Build the fire up a bit more, yeah. Right, that'll do for a test. We need a lid. Where's the lid? Oh no. Now we don't want the lid blowing off, so we want a small hole in the lid. That'll do. This is plastic, this can come off. Right, the char cloth will be ready to come out in another 15 minutes, 20 minutes. This will take a lot longer. If we could have contained all that wood gas, I would say we could have put miles on it. Right, well, I can't see a thing due to the sun, but the gassing off's finished. So I've got two old English pennies here, both George V, one 1912 and the other one I think it's 1935, but I can't be sure on both of them, they're a bit worn. So we're going to use those to stop those two holes up. I put my gloves on because it's seriously hot. Oh, this knife's got a bit hot. Oh, it is still gassing out. If you look, see that there's a lit flame coming out there. There's actually still a lit flame coming out there, so we'll leave it for a little while. I just don't want it sucking air, oxygen back in and ruining my charcoal. Because we'll make the assumption that we've got some decent charcoal in there. So we'll leave that for the minute and we'll see if the char cloth is ready for opening. You're wittering about. Wow, that's a bit hot. It's no good opening your char cloth if it's of an ignition temperature, because when it gets introduced to the oxygen it'll just ignite and that'll be it. You'll have lost it. I think what we'll do is we'll put the pennies on and we'll just leave it now to burn out and to cool down. So they'll act as safety valves, if you like. In fact, the whole tin acts as a safety valve. So we'll see that's finished with now until a good few hours. So we'll come back to that a bit later on. We'll see what the char cloth's been doing. I didn't want to put this in the sheath while it was so hot. Right, there we go. I knew I had a screwdriver somewhere. So there we go, there's the char cloth inside, nicely black, jet black, absorbing all the photons. You can see how it shrinks down as well. This was full. Now it's shrunk down, and there we go. I think that's done right the way through that. Fairly fragile. Look at that. We've burnt a hole in this can. Ow! Some of it's hot inside. I would say it's ignited inside, and now the air's got in, it's burning. It's getting hotter, so I'm going to have to bury it. I'll bury it in the garden. So there's an idea for a hand warmer. I've buried that. This should be alright. I don't think we'll lose much. You see that? We can open it. We can open it out. So we can use that now for flint and steel, or I like to put a little bit in a bird's nest if I've got some, just to make sure it goes okay. And also, as you've just seen, the fire piston. So I'm just replenishing what we've used. I'll put a link. In fact, I might put one of them little boxes at the end of the video, just showing you how I made this. I made two, they both work. It's quite simple, but the big problem I have is I used soft wood for the piston, and it lets air through. It's a bit porous. What are you doing? But it works. So you shouldn't be able to close it like that. If it was making a really good seal, it would just pop back out again. But if you're quite violent with it, it still works. Let's see what the dog's doing. What are you doing? What have you lost? Eh? What's your problem under there? Eh? Oh, it's your ball, is it? Well, don't stick it in daft places. You daft dog. Get it out of there. You daft dog. So now the fire has died down, I'm just going to remove this. It's cold, feels cold. I'll leave those pennies on for the minute. The bottom has deformed. There's a bit of charcoal in the fire, so we'll be saving that. We'll leave that there. I'll just leave it to make sure it's cooled down. Take the dog out, come back in an hour or so. Right then, we'll dig up the char cloth. I hope there's some left in here. We'll take it over to the charcoal and we'll open them up over there. I'll just wind you up a bit. Right, so char cloth first then. We'll see what's left from that little burning episode of the char cloth. Alright, well, we're not so bad, but actually there's two holes in it. So these were beyond the holes that were in the lid, so that's not good. So this tin's had it now. But there's quite a lot, there's still some more in there. There's quite a lot of usable charcoal there, char cloth. So that's alright, that'll keep us going for a while. And it's like my very first video. One fire is preparing for another fire. Right, let's go and see how we go for the charcoal. I'll bring you in a bit closer for that. Right then. Doesn't sit down straight anymore, this tin. It's blown the bottom out. That'll be because the bottom probably got red hot, so very weak, and the positive pressure in it just pushed it out. Right, where's the screwdriver gone? Right in front of me. Right, just you see that in there? So that's right from the middle. And it breaks nice. So we can make charcoal. Although this is not going to survive another burn, I don't think. So we're going to have to get something a bit more substantial. Now I have got something more substantial, but it's going to take a bit of work to get some sort of lid on it. So we can also pick some of the charcoal out of here. Now this is softwood charcoal. This is oak, so this is fairly good stuff. This. So this may lead on to to other projects. Right, so we'll store that away until we've got a good collection of it. So that was fairly successful. Certainly the day for it, although not the day for having a hot fire, but it meant everything worked well, especially the fire piston. So I'll leave a link to that at the end, and one of my very first videos was making fires to prepare for fires, which is what this was about basically. So I'll catch you in a probably a week, because I'm back at work this week. So these have been burnt as well. Right, so that's it then. I'll catch you in a week or so.